The chapter starts with a flashback to Gojo and Yuta doing switch training. Yuta asks for the last Sukuna finger so that he can copy Shrine, but Gojo refuses. He goes on to say that it wouldn't be enough to analyze the technique, and that they wouldn't want to lose their connection to Sukuna. Yuta explains that to copy a technique, Rika must consume a part of the target's body. However, if the body part regenerates, it loses its value for copying. Yuta can use Inumaki and Nana's techniques because their arms can be healed with either modern medicine or RCT, making them suitable for copying. Yuta decides to share this information with Yuji, believing that despite his resonance with Sukuna, Yuji cannot read Sukuna's thoughts or reveal their strategy. These kinds of flashbacks have been very prevalent during this arc, and I think this was one of the better ones, just in terms of the new information we learned and some of the smaller details. You can clearly tell that Gojo and Yuta have swapped bodies just by their facial expressions, which is really cool but also kinda creepy to me at the same time. I also love these little moments with Yuji where he comes up with an idea but immediately gets shut down. Also, I completely forgot that Charles existed. I didn't even know he was still alive. We return back to the fight, where Sukuna notices the 2 missing fingers in Yuji's hand, and he realizes Yuta was bluffing about eating the last finger. We see Gakko Ganji and Utahime discussing Sukuna's indestructible fingers, speculating that their durability might be due to a binding vow. They consider that focusing on allowing a curse technique to penetrate could potentially harm Sukuna. However, Utahime expresses concern about someone who woke up half an hour ago. Nobara appears and uses her technique on the last finger, which then affects Sukuna. Nobara saying "up here" is a callback to when Yuji used the same phrase upon his return in chapter 32, after everyone thought he was dead. Also, I really love this panel of Yuji shedding a tear upon realizing that Nobara is alive. After a devastating dismantle from Yuji, Sukuna is furious.
You think you can flame me with the superficial domain? You're the one on the ropes.
Yeah, whatever you say, young. It's time to take your meds. The chapter ends with Yuji landing what might very well be his final black flash on Sukuna. My feelings towards this chapter are complicated, so let me note a couple other minor things I really like. Yuji's version of Sukuna's technique being these scissor patterns has always looked really cool, but this panel especially utilizes this design incredibly well. It feels like we've been waiting the entire manga to hear Yuji say this, and it's honestly so cool as the finishing line to win the fight. And lastly, this panel of Sukuna tweaking might be the funniest shit ever to me. Ever since what happened in Shibuya, I have not wanted this to happen. This is an unpopular opinion amongst most of the fanbase, but Nobara's death is my favorite death in the series. I'll have to talk about it at length in another video, but it was incredibly moving and emotional, and it was a perfect conclusion to her character as a whole. Say what you will about her development and screen time, but her ending was great. Now that she's back, my feelings are bittersweet. I'm happy that she's back. I love her character a lot and I can't help but feel moved by it. In a vacuum, this moment is great. However, the way in which this was built up to and executed just feels really cheap to me. We were told that the chance of her surviving was non-zero. After that, we barely heard anything about her throughout half of the story besides a couple vague moments. Now, she wakes up just in time to help in the most vital moment in the entire fight. Not to mention how this perfectly lines up with Sukuna breaking Yuji's arm gauntlets and him realizing what their plan actually was. It all just feels way too contrived. I feel like this could have worked a lot better if her status wasn't so ambiguous. Just a few small scenes updating us on how she's doing would have done wonders for this moment. You could say that this would make the surprise less impactful and sure, but I think it would just make the scene with Yuji realizing that she's alive hit a lot harder. Also, I frankly don't believe she deserves as big of a moment as this. She hasn't been important to the story in so long, and spending an entire chapter on this feels like a waste, especially when this is one of the 5 final chapters. I would have much rather preferred this chapter being the return of Megami instead, but it is what it is. Last thing I want to note is how this whole Nobara comeback went exactly the way people predicted. Him reusing resonance on Sukuna to the eye patch she's wearing. Makes me wonder if this is what Gege meant by wanting to satisfy as many fans as possible. Anyway, that's about it. I'm sorry if the last part was too rambly. As I said, I'm still not too sure about what I think about this chapter myself, so I tried to convey my opinion as best as I could. I'm hoping to review the other 4 chapters as they come out as well, so stay tuned for that. I think giving each of these a score might be fun, so for chapter 267, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10.